do not like partisan politics. In fact, you could say I hate it. I hate how we have two parties who give the same presents with differently colored wrapping paper. I hate how the potential rise of any third party is hindered by an outdated first-past-the-post voting system. I hate how it fosters an ever-growing division, chaos, and confusion in the American mind. There's a quote which I often like to repeat, that we have two parties, one is the evil party, and the other is the stupid party. Occasionally, the two parties get together to do something that's both evil and stupid, and that's called bipartisanship. Of the 7 videos I've posted to this channel thus far, only one is about partisan politics, and quite frankly, speaking from a more experienced and nuanced position now, I can safely say that that's my worst video. However, because this is a political channel, I at times feel that I must give my opinion on a partisan political issue, and this is one of those times. I don't know when or how the slogan was born. All I know is that I see it everywhere, and that it makes no sense. I mean, it's right there. It's a call for further and more extreme partisanship, if such a thing is even possible at this point. It encourages people to vote for the Democratic Party, regardless of whether or not it properly represents their views. Much as I don't like her, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez put it perfectly. In any other country, she and Joe Biden would not be in the same party, and that's because the Democratic Party in recent years has become bifurcated between the more centrist and neoliberal types and the further left Social Democrats. We saw this in 2016 where millions of Bernie voters flipped to voting for Trump. The so-called Bernie or bust voters were the canary in the coal mine. The American left does not want to vote for another corporate shill candidate. Only 53% of Sanders supporters will definitely support the 2020 Democratic nominee if Sanders doesn't win. This is of course a microcosm of the growing schism within the Democratic Party, which, no matter how you slice it, will eventually culminate either in leftists taking over the party or the party snapping in two. Vote Blue No Matter Who is a call for political monocracy. The promise of America is the promise of political representation for all, and Vote Blue No Matter Who is a motto which directly opposes that notion. Instead, it posits that we should surrender our convictions for the sake of getting the other guy out of office. When a party loses an election, they're supposed to adapt their platform and their tactics so that they can have a better chance next time. This is how politics is supposed to work, except that isn't what happened after 2016. Instead, nearly 4 years later, the Democrats are still unable to accept the fact that they lost. Instead, they somehow think that they can win exclusively off of Orange Man bad.
Putin, Russia hates Russia, Putin, Russia.
They refuse to examine why they lost and why Trump won. Instead, they have successfully numbed the majority of Americans to their shenanigans by making breaking news out of anything and everything that he does. Meanwhile, as the Democrats are collapsing, Trump's base is still as strong and enthusiastic as ever. You bet your ass they're going to be at the ballot box in November. But Democrats? In this condition, it's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on. Quite simply, a huge portion of Democrats, many of whom absolutely despise Trump, will not go out and vote because they have become disillusioned with the party. They have tired of the endless bickering, the political correctness, and the utter inability to do their duty and represent the people who put them in power.
How we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Donald Trump is not the illness. He is a symptom of the utter failure of the American political system, and of the Democratic Party to do their fucking job. Donald Trump would never have been elected if the Democrats showed any competency whatsoever. That is, if they focused on policy, on solutions, and on ways to better people's lives. Instead, they focus on trivial bullshit like Trump saying mean things on the Twitters. Guess what? No one cares. I tend to concur with the statement that British and American politics mirror one another. Well, let's look at it and compare the two.
In 2016, in Britain, a slight majority voted in favour of Brexit. Over the next 3 years, the will of the people was completely ignored, as the Remainers did anything and everything to postpone and bog down Brexit. Never mind that they lost their vote, because democracy, what even is that anymore? So after 3 years of political malaise, Boris Johnson of the Conservative Party won a commanding majority in Parliament, thus definitely asserting that the people wanted Brexit. No matter how much Labour activists on Twitter cry about it, the numbers are quite clear. Now, let's skip back across the pond.
In America, Donald Trump narrowly won the presidential election. His surprise win should have been a slap to the face of the Democratic Party, which woke them from their slumber and forced them to innovate and evolve. Instead, they responded to this outcry from the people by doing the exact same thing that they were doing before. And now, I predict that we're going to see another landslide victory just like in Britain. If you've been on the YouTube political scene for a while, you might have noticed that this video sounds a lot like what many people were saying after Trump was elected back in 2016. That is no accident. It's indicative of the absolute state of the Democratic Party, that they are so stagnant and so constantly preoccupied with frothing at the mouth at Donald Trump's latest stupid tweet for the past 4 years that they haven't noticed being led by him, constantly following the carrot on the stick. They take the bait so often and so easily, it's honestly like watching a small child try to outwit a grown man. Now, we're coming off what is probably the best week that the Trump 2020 campaign ever has had or will have. They came one after the other, like a series of gut punches. First, the absolute fiasco that was the Iowa caucuses. Then, the next day, the State of the Union, at the conclusion of which Nancy Pelosi, in a clearly rehearsed piece of political theater, tore Trump's speech in half. It was a petty and pathetic move which did nothing for Pelosi's already poor image. Then, not even 24 hours later, Trump was acquitted of his impeachment charges. Now, the chairman of the Iowa Democrats has resigned. Trump's approval is at the highest it's ever been by far, and it's damn near being higher than his disapproval now. With impeachment over, Trump has fired Vindman and Sondland, who testified against him during the impeachment inquiry, and now Democrats are calling for a second impeachment inquiry. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing twice and expecting different results. But hey, if that's what's needed to drive the point home, so be it.
We'll probably have to do it again, because these people have gone stone cold crazy. But I've beaten them all my life, and I'll beat them again if I have to.
I'll enjoy watching this Hindenburg disaster of an election campaign. Hopefully, you will too. But hopefully, you will not vote blue no matter who. This has been Arkin, and thank you for watching.